All right, Mr. Boone, I just want to recap, sent you a little video just on the basic movement change and the video that we took in here for your pitching motion. What I want to recap a little bit is some of the stuff that's a little bit more specific to you in terms of your thoughts and feels. So recapping a little bit about what we got going on. Initially, we had a really big movement of the hands away and the club outward, right? That was creating, the initial backstroke was creating some issues for the downstroke, considering pitching motion is much smaller than golf swing, where we'd have time to sort of figure some of that out. We got into tying that right arm a little bit more to the chest, so it has to move in unison in the pivot, so that the hand works a little bit more on the correct arc, and the club works along with it. So that's a really big change that starts the domino effect of some things being a lot more appropriate for wedges. Now, once that's been created, and this is the piece that I want to talk to you about, because this was the biggest piece for you in terms of striking some really nice shots. The big change is now the club's not working from here. It's not working downward and inward, to where previously it worked downward and inward, and as you try and get the golf ball in the air, we sort of tilt back to get the club back under the ball, and there's an upward scoop to the ball, which is why we hit the ground early a lot, duff it to the left, or hit it fast to the right. Now that the club is in much more of a, what I consider pretty neutral position, because that right arm is turning with the chest, we're able to deliver that club a little bit more shallowly into the golf ball, right? But the big thing is in the downswing, making sure that we are continuing to pivot the chest in order to get the club kicked outward enough to hit the back of the ball. If we make this backstroke and don't pivot, we will still be hitting the ground a little bit early, okay? But because we don't have such a downward move, we can get away with that part of the time as long as we're seeing that lead wrist go into some amount of flexion to deliver bounce to the ground. We can get away with some early ground strikes. They turn into okay golf shots on most decent lies. The idea that we're looking for you to hit perfect shots is once that backstroke is structured, we are for you feeling pull fade, which is in no way are you ever getting the club outward of the ball and trying to cut spin it, but the feel for you allows you to pivot enough to get that club kicked outward and downstroke, maintain loft, and exit the club around us on the correct arc. So the feeling for you is club outside, working the outside of the ball and pull fade. When that starts to actually happen, the process that we'll go through here is it will turn into really good shots, perfect shots that are straight, spinny, soft. As we actually start to slip to a little bit of out to in, we'll probably get a little bit of increased spin. The ball won't launch as high, because we are going to have to be a little bit steeper on that from the outside position. When it gets too far out to in, if that ever actually happens, but from the correct position, is when we would start seeing shots that might slip over to the left. Good contact, but it slips off and we hit a soft one over to the left a little bit, or we're hitting shots that are a little low and a little bit to the right. Definitely not the duffing shot that we've had from coming steeply and down that way without rotation. So the progression is, I want that backstroke's awesome, and right now we're just feeling pull fades to make sure that that chest is continuing to rotate, okay? So we've covered a lot of our shots in the rough, different lies there. The biggest piece to those is really the change in how we're getting the club either through the grass or not. Early for a lot of those lies, the line into the grain, tall stuff, the drawing motion, getting the toe in front of the heel, your C lie where it's sitting down, the cut and hold to where we were getting that to 6 o'clock very quickly and holding that loft down to pop those shots up. So those are just deviations from the basic movement that we want to really get consistent. Bunker play became very good when you started understanding ball position and how to open that loft. So a couple of those concepts for you to go back and visit mentally, or shoot me a text or an email and we can clear some of those up. The biggest piece for you is being able to make that backstroke to where the right arm and the chest are pivoting a little bit more at the same speed. For you, from that point, pull fade. And until you start seeing the golf ball do anything other than straight and soft, you're continuing to feel that movement in downstroke. Hope that helps.